Imagine discovering that the one man you trusted least, the quiet driver you barely noticed, was hiding a truth so powerful it could shatter your guilt, rewrite your past, and heal the daughter you thought you'd already lost forever. Before we dive into this shocking billionaire family secret, hit subscribe right now, because stories like this, raw, emotional, and absolutely unbelievable, are dropping every week, and you do not want to miss the next twist. It began on the coldest morning of December, when billionaire industrialist Charles Hargrove, a man known across both Wall Street and Westminster for his brutal discipline and emotionless precision, returned unexpectedly from a failed negotiation in London and swept through the marble corridor of his estate with the type of stormy silence that sent every employee into immediate stillness. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared him for the sight waiting behind the half-open door to his daughter's private studio, a room he had avoided entering for almost 2 years since the tragic accident that left 17-year-old Lily Hargrove paralyzed from the waist down. And there, illuminated by the warm spill of morning light, he saw Jordan Miles, the family's young black driver, quiet, respectful, always careful to stay in the background, standing in the center of the room with Lily in his arms, not as a caregiver lifting her for routine therapy but dancing with her in slow, gentle, rhythmic movements that looked impossibly like she was guiding the motion instead of merely being carried by it. And Charles felt a violent shock ripple through him as he watched Lily's face, once drained of joy, frozen in grief, now glowing with a vibrant life he feared he had destroyed forever by pushing her too hard, missing too many moments, and drowning himself in work after the accident. But instead of confronting them immediately, he stayed hidden in the shadow, watching Jordan speak to Lily softly, telling her she was stronger than she believed, that music could wake muscles that doctors had given up on, that she wasn't broken, only waiting to rise again. And when Lily laughed, a sound Charles hadn't heard since the night before the crash, it split him open with guilt and relief, until suddenly Lily's hand twitched, just a faint movement on Jordan's shoulder, and Jordan froze in stunned disbelief as she did it again, whispering through tears, "Jordan, I felt that." And the room erupted with emotion as the young driver held her tighter, promising her they would keep practicing, that she would walk again, that she would dance on her own feet one day. But everything shattered when Charles accidentally knocked over a decorative vase beside him, sending it crashing to the floor and causing both Lily and Jordan to turn toward the doorway in shock. Jordan terrified, Lily confused, and Charles enraged by the mixture of admiration, jealousy, fear, and protectiveness tearing through him as he stormed into the room demanding an explanation, accusing Jordan of crossing boundaries, of giving false hope, of manipulating his daughter's fragile state. And Lily fiercely defended Jordan, insisting he was the only one who truly believed in her, the only one who bothered to talk to her like she still mattered, the only one who treated her like more than a tragedy. And when Jordan admitted he had been helping her secretly for months, because she asked him to, because she didn't want Charles to stop her, Charles exploded, firing Jordan on the spot and ordering security to escort him out, leaving Lily sobbing and begging her father to stop, screaming that he ruined everything, that for the first time in 2 years she felt alive. And as Jordan was dragged away, he shouted back to her, "Don't give up. You're stronger than this. Keep fighting," before disappearing through the estate doors as Charles locked the studio behind him, hiding the truth even from himself, that he had just destroyed the only thing giving his daughter hope. But the consequences of that moment spread faster than Charles could contain them, because that evening Lily refused to speak to him, refused her medication, refused to eat, her spirit collapsing again in a way that terrified the household staff and even the private physicians who had grown accustomed to her emotional storms. And Charles, pacing the empty hallways with a glass of untouched whiskey, found himself haunted not by Jordan's defiance but by the unmistakable fact that Lily had moved, however small, however impossible. And the memory burned in him until he finally drove alone to Jordan's small apartment on the edge of town, expecting to find him angry or defeated but instead discovering a cluttered living room filled with music therapy books, neurological recovery studies, and notes titled, "Lily Progress Log," each page documenting her emotional and physical improvements with a level of devotion Charles had never given his own daughter. And when Jordan opened the door, surprised but unwilling to back down, he told Charles that he began helping Lily only because he overheard her crying in the backseat one night, whispering that she wished she had died in the accident because she was nothing but a burden now. And Jordan, who had lost his own sister to a spinal condition years before, couldn't ignore the familiar despair in her voice, so he promised himself he would not let another young girl fall into that level of hopelessness again. Not if he could help it, not if she trusted him, not if there was even the smallest chance of rebuilding her strength. And Charles, speechless for once in his life, felt the weight of his pride suffocating him as Jordan continued explaining that Lily's therapists were so focused on the science that they forgot the music, the movement, the emotional spark, the human connection, and that paralysis does not always mean total impossibility. But before Charles could respond, a loud pounding shook Jordan's front door and two men in dark suits entered, sent by the board of Charles's company, warning that rumors were spreading online about the billionaire's daughter, about an inappropriate relationship between her and an employee, and that investors were nervous. And only then did Charles realize that someone inside his own estate had leaked photos of Lily and Jordan dancing, photos taken secretly through the half-open studio door before he had even arrived, sending the internet into a frenzy of speculation that threatened his empire. Panicked and furious, Charles demanded to know who took the pictures, but Jordan stepped between him and the executives, insisting Lily must not be dragged into a media circus, that she needed protection, not management, and this unusual act of loyalty stunned Charles so deeply that he dismissed the executives on the spot and turned back to Jordan with a strained, unfamiliar tone, not of command but of pleading, asking him if he truly believed Lily could recover, even a little, and Jordan answered not with promises but with truth. She can move because she trusts. She trusts the music, she trusts the moment, she trusts me, but she needs to trust you too. And that sentence, simple but devastating, broke something inside Charles, because he realized Lily had spent 2 years grieving not only her legs but the father she had lost long before the accident, a man buried in profit margins and corporate battles instead of bedtime stories and laughter. And so, in a moment that shocked even himself, Charles asked Jordan to return, not as a driver but as Lily's partner in recovery. A partner who would be given full authority to guide her healing, and Jordan agreed only after Charles promised, with difficulty, to stop treating Lily like a fragile symbol and start treating her like a daughter trying to fight her way back to life. When Jordan returned to the estate the next morning, the atmosphere had transformed. Lily, upon seeing him step into the studio again, burst into tears of relief while Charles lingered quietly behind her, watching, learning, allowing himself to shrink from the position of tyrant to the role of supportive father. And over the next several weeks Jordan guided Lily through music-driven therapy sessions that pushed her physically and emotionally, each one unlocking small, miraculous moments. A twitch, a lift, a slight shift of her heel, until one afternoon, during a particularly intense session, Jordan played the same jazz piece he used the first time she ever smiled again, and Lily felt something surging through her legs, an electric pulse of awakening that shot upward through her spine, causing her to gasp, then push, then slowly, painfully straighten her knee, leaving Jordan stunned and Charles crying silently in the doorway as he watched his daughter reclaim a part of herself he thought forever lost. But the story did not end with triumph alone, because days later the board of Charles's company called an emergency meeting demanding he step down as CEO due to the scandal of the leaked photos and the perception that he had lost control of his household and emotions. And while Charles prepared to surrender everything he built, Lily, now stronger, bolder, rising emotionally with every session, rolled into the boardroom in her wheelchair, accompanied by Jordan, and delivered a powerful speech about dignity, recovery, and truth, explaining that the man they accused of losing control was actually the one finally learning to be a father, and that Jordan Miles was not a liability but a hero who helped her regain hope when billion-dollar doctors could not. The room fell silent as she placed her hand, now able to support a small amount of weight, on the conference table and pushed herself into a partial stand, trembling but determined, shocking every executive present and instantly silencing the scandal narrative. The story of her courage leaked to the press within hours, flipping public opinion completely, turning Jordan and Lily into symbols of perseverance, sparking worldwide conversations about alternative therapy approaches, and restoring Charles's position with more public support than he ever imagined. But the final twist came on the night of her first public appearance, a charity gala dedicated to spinal injury research, where Lily, wearing a shimmering silver gown, took Jordan's hand in front of hundreds of guests and attempted her first dance on national television, lifting herself slowly, gripping him tightly, moving one step, then another, her legs shaking but her spirit unbreakable, until the audience erupted in tears and applause as she completed a full rotation in Jordan's arms, looking into his eyes with a depth of gratitude and connection that went far beyond therapy. And while some whispered about romance, and others speculated about Jordan's future role in the family, Charles stepped onto the stage, placed a gentle hand on both their shoulders, and addressed the world with a voice that no longer sounded like a billionaire speaking to investors but like a father who had learned the hardest and most beautiful lesson of all. That healing does not always come from wealth, that miracles often enter our lives quietly through people we overlook, and that sometimes the person you least expect is the one who holds the key to saving the person you love the most. And as the cameras flashed, capturing the trio in a moment that would spread across the US and UK within hours, the billionaire who once fired the driver now thanked him publicly, calling him the man who gave my daughter back her future, while Lily, smiling radiantly, whispered to Jordan, "Ready for our next dance?" And he whispered back, "Only if you lead this time," marking the beginning of a new chapter, not of tragedy but of triumph, unity, music, movement, and a bond that shocked everyone, especially the man who first walked in expecting betrayal and instead found redemption.